Howdy.
How are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm okay. So New York City is supposed to open on the 8th of June.
Yeah, I saw that. Well, phase one, right?
Yeah, phase one. So it's not like there's a lot to do, but
I know, yeah. So I still don't know what kind of phase we're going to be able to fall into.
I think it's 3 or 4.
Yeah. But I'm hoping that personal services phase 2 might be able to swing things plus.
Are you personal services or gym? Do you know what your NAICS number is?
Don't have an X number.
Oh.
We're an uptown Manhattan business.
Okay.
We're most definitely not a gym because
Okay.
that's a physical cultural establishment, and pretty much every physical cultural establishment in the city that isn't like, Equinox or blah 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 is operating illegally because it's almost impossible to get that license.
Okay.
They brought that license in the 70s when all these gyms were opening up as brothels.
Mm-hmm.
So they made it really hard to get. Zach, what's up? How are you? Good to see you.
Good. Good to see you too.
Are you in Oregon?
I'm in Oregon.
Yeah.
I made my decision. I'm going to be heading back to the city July, probably around the first week.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go back to Rochester, or they're just not happening?
I graduate online-ish in 2 weeks, and then I'll have 1 month left whenever campus reopens, but I don't know when that'll be.
Okay. You just have to pop up and do your...
Yeah, my hands-on clinical, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Who's Ronan? Cecilia, how are you? I have... Brian. Brian popped up. You popped up as Ronan, Brian, for some reason.
Oh, that's me, Owen. I have my son's name. It's Kira.
Oh, you popped to the side. Ah, there you go. Yeah, I was wondering.
I use this for my son's school too, so
Oh, okay.
I'm on my phone, so I don't know how to change the name. I'm just gonna be Ronan. Sorry.
Yeah, Ronan works. It's a good Irish name. So we just wait for a few more guys and then we can start. Rachel, howdy. Everybody looks so different out of their workout gear. Oh, Joanna just texted me. She finished work and wants to get in. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, let me just double check. Let me just double check that everyone who is supposed to have the link has the link. Dun, dun. Julia, yeah. Steven, Andrea, Alexandra, John, Kira, Ashley. Okay, cool. I think everybody does, so I guess they can just start jumping in as they arrive. Oh, Joanna, wow, you're in hospital.
No, we're I can only be here a little bit and then have to go.
Okay, cool. Well, you're a star for checking in anyway, even though you're calling from work. All right, so I think the best way that I've done kind of any of the Zoom stuff is that if we go on mute and then if you have a question, see the little reaction thingy down at the bottom. It's kind of down to the bottom right of your options on the screen if you're on a laptop. I think it's up top if you're on the phone.
Up here because it's hot.
So hold on, let me just put everybody on mute. Okay. So yeah, so if you have a question, just put up your hand and pop. Okay. I'll start with some questions that we got through Instagram. That might be the easiest way of doing things, just to get the ball rolling. And just as I'm pulling up my email, someone else just, who's this? Wait, Rachel, you're here. You got the link, right? Yeah, sorry. I'm just seeing that email now. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Draft questions. Cool. All right. So, couple of fun ones that came in to start things off. Was basically the first one that came in Instagram was, what's your home gym setup like? And a few people have asked me about this. If you've seen on the Instagram, it looks pretty weird, and it is pretty weird. It looks like a Turkish bathhouse. So my parents years ago had set up, they had tried to build holiday homes, and part of the vacation rentals, they had tried to build out a swimming pool. The whole thing didn't go too much to plan, and when the last recession hit, everything kind of went belly up. So I took over that swimming pool and I set up a little gym for myself. And that's pretty much where all of this started. I guess it was the original lab. It's where I started really thinking about becoming a trainer. I had been living in New York for I think about 2 or 3 years, and then I moved home for about a year. And the first thing I did when I moved home was say, right, I'm going to set up this gym in the abandoned pool. And so I did. I just got a squat rack and some kettlebells and just started messing around with all that stuff. And there wasn't too much in the kettlebell world back then. It wasn't as popular as it is now. So I really didn't have a clue what I was doing. And that kind of got me into realizing how much there was to learn and how deep this whole practice was. And the deeper I got into it, the more I realized that this is what I actually wanted to do as a career. So that little bathhouse gym that I have at home is pretty much the start of all of this. And it's been pretty nice to be back there for 3 months and kind of get back into the lab a little bit. A carry-on question from that was, what's your favorite equipment? Or what equipment do you like the best? I'm not a big fan of any particular equipment. For me, it's about what are you going to get the most bang for buck with? What are your goals? What are you trying to do? How much time have you got? What's available to you? If you did put a gun to my head, I guess kettlebells, because they're so versatile. There's so much you can do with them. I would say they're probably my favorite. But I go through phases. I love the clubs. I love barbells. I love all of that stuff. But again, for me, it's really not about using a particular type of equipment or becoming a master at any one particular style. If you want to become really strong at the barbell, or if you want to become a really good gymnast, or if you want to become really, really strong with kettlebells or clubs or whatever it is, you have to specialize. Specialization comes with injury. It's almost impossible to not specialize and not create movements imbalances. So, you know, when I was competitive, it was as a Gaelic football player and a soccer player. And that at the time was worth me getting injured to try and get better at the sport and win games or whatever it is. Obviously, getting injured wasn't the goal, but it was worth the risk. So the specialization in that sport for me was worth the risk of getting injured. So now I don't think anything is really worth the risk in getting injured. So I don't specialize in anything. If you are to specialize in anything, I know some of you guys are runners here and you're pretty serious runners. The key that I wish I knew at an early age when I was specializing in football and soccer was to do the exercises, to do movements that you don't do in your sport. So we always think about strength and conditioning as, you know, trying to be sport specific, trying to mimic the movements of what we do in our sports or what we do the most of, to get faster at those movements. But really, when we look at sports and strength and conditioning for our sports, the best thing that we can do is play more of those sports. So staying fit and healthy enough to remain on the field, stay training longer, stay playing games longer is the key. And therefore, it's all about, for me, injury reduction methods. And that would be trying to do the movements we don't do all the time. To bring that into the real world, if we're not competitive athletes, it's the same thing. What are the movements we do in our day-to-day all the time? So we're at the computer a lot, we're sitting down a lot, we're schlepping bags, all bent over, gravity pulling on us. So our training then is about doing the movements that we don't do. So we try and do a lot of movements where we work different positions than the positions we find ourselves in every day. And I know I kind of went on a tangent there about what kind of equipment I like to use, but that's really the answer. Is I'm not attached to any one piece of equipment, and neither is the training style that I use, because it's all about trying to stay fit and healthy for longer. It's all about longevity, and if we specialize, we limit our chances of longevity. Couple more from Instagram. Equipment suggestions right now, anything you can get your hands on, really. It's insane. There's I could probably be a millionaire if I just liquidated the gym and what I have in the house right now. I could sell kettlebells at probably $4 a pound or something like that. So yeah, equipment's your body's always the easiest, most accessible thing that you have, you know, and just moving it in any which way you can. You know, it doesn't have to be that serious. It's nice to have toys and to play with things and to get external feedback, but it shouldn't be a limit. It shouldn't be a limiting factor on how we work out. You know, people have been working out, I would imagine, since the dawn of time. All right. So even I would imagine even back hunter-gatherer times, we were probably a little bit more animalistic. We mightn't have considered ourselves working out, but I can guarantee you when people woke up after sleeping on the cave floor or whatever, they stretched just like a dog would stretch. They shook just like animals shake, right? When we do things, there's natural movements, there's natural ways of working stuff out in our bodies, and it's only really recently that we've had to think about, you know, structured workouts because our lives aren't as demanding anymore. But even when our lives were physically demanding, we would have always stretched. It's just a natural thing to do. Every animal stretches, you know? So that is kind of working out in ourselves. And as far as not being able to get your hands on any tools, your body weight is huge. And we can do so much with the body as well. And the one thing I would say with that is to not get sucked into the idea of just having to do tons and tons of reps of jumping jacks or push-ups. And we see all these kind of programs floating around on Instagram now, and it's like, do 100 push-ups and then do 500 squats and then do blah, 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 blah. just try and move your body in different ways, different tempos, hold positions, go fast positions, go slow through positions, just explore it. You kind of, a beautiful thing about this time right now, I was talking to Ilya, who I work out with all the time, and you know, he doesn't have any equipment. And it's like, yeah, it's like I've been released from the gym. I don't have this weight over my shoulder where I feel like I have to be at the gym. I can now just start moving how my body intuitively feels like it wants to move. And that's basically, that's when you know you're at the top of working out for me. Yeah, you could have a six pack, you could be ripped, and you could be squatting all this weight. But if the second the gym closes down and now you're sitting at home and you put on 5 pounds of fat, 10 pounds of fat, or whatever it is, it's exactly, Rachel. Yeah, exactly, 100%. Kind of lost my thought. Oh yeah, so you can be like super buff, super ripped, lifting all these weights. Then the gym closes down and you've lost all of that. That to me doesn't show someone who's developed an understanding of their body and a passion for movement and got to the next level of what, I don't want to use the word exercise, let's use movement, should be, right? Just intuitively doing what you want to do. And Rachel said something perfect there. She said humans have played since the dawn of time. Exactly. And play would have been their idea of working it out, shaking their sillies out, you know. Play is something that we have lost an awful lot of recently. Cool. Movement suggestions to do outside. That kind of just teams in with the last thing that I was talking about. Just try and move in any which way possible. Something I've been doing a lot in the classes. We haven't done it as much this month, but we're doing it a lot in April. It was what I was calling the intuitive movement, where we were just trying to move, just start one tiny little movement in your body and just keep following that. And if that just meant you were just twisting your shoulder back and forth for a half an hour, then just twist your shoulder back and forth for a half an hour. But maybe that would lead to huge, big stretch or jump or whatever it is. It's really just about trying to get into your body. So I wouldn't say, you know, go out and do 10 squats and do 10 push-ups or whatever. I would just say, try and feel your body. Try and move in different ways and have fun with it. If there's things or skills you want to get better at, pick one. So if you treat a push-up as a skill, then pick it and then work your progressions up towards that. Cool. And that was pretty much about it from Instagram. Any questions you guys have? There's a few more questions I have on emails as well, but let's open it up here. Anybody got something? No, nada. Amanda, I know you had emailed in about the kids program. So with that, it's basically going to come down to, it's a good idea, something I've thought about, something I want to do, but it's going to really depend on liability issues with that one, to be honest. It's a different ball game, setting up something a bit more camp-like for longer than the hour class, where we don't have extra supervision and stuff like that. The logistics of it mightn't work out, but we'll see. I'm gonna check in with the insurance people, see what we can do, and it is something that I definitely like the idea of and have talked to Seamus about. So we'll figure it out. Also, yeah, with the kids program in general, I can't imagine anything will be indoors before September at the earliest, but you know, we'll play it by ear on what the schools are doing and what preschools and stuff like that are doing. However, I definitely do think we'll be doing our classes outside with the kids probably over the summer. So at least the hour classes, and if we can do something more, I think that would be appreciated by a lot of people. And as I say, it will just come down to whether we can manage it logistically. Cool. Sounds great. Thanks. Cool. Awesome. Lalita, question. Ideas for movement post badly sprained ankle outside of rehab and walking. And the beard game is strong. The COVID lack of haircut and beards is definitely a thing. Ideas for movement post badly sprained outside of rehab and walking. Joanna, do you want to take this one maybe? I don't know outside of rehab. Everything for me, everything is. I'll let Joanna, the physical therapist, answer this anyway.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. I would definitely recommend being consistent and committed to your rehab and walking, and then think about the rest of your body. Think about your calves, your hips, your core, your shoulders, and slow and steady. Get your whole body and your ankle strong. Just stay committed to the rehab and think about everything else beyond that. So yeah, have fun doing other things. Hang, roll around, crawl, do whatever you can to support the rest of your body while doing the rehab. Make sense?
Awesome. Lalita, how does that sound? Is that kind of what you were looking for when you say outside of rehab?
Yeah, if you can walk barefoot. Oh, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. If you can walk barefoot, walk in dirt, walk in beach sand, walk on different surfaces, just nothing so unstable that you can risk the stability of the ankle. So walk in grass, walk on hills in different angles, but that's kind of rehab. So
Yeah. Me and Joanna are kind of the same. We believe that training and rehab are this, it's all the one world. But Joanna, you might kind of expand a little bit that on like all injuries are, all issues that we might be dealing with and how we can continue exercise or moving around, or how to not let injuries be something that are going to, say, oh, we can't do something because I've got this, or I can't do that because my knee is sore, blah, 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 which is something we hear a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Look for the things that feel good. It sounds so simple, but move into pleasure, not pain. So find the things that feel really good, feel really satisfying, feel really just inspiring for you. So if it's a cranky knee, work your upper body, work your core, go swimming, do the things that nourish your body and your mind and your spirit, that don't feel like it makes it worse. Get the help you need. If you need support, get rehab, seek knowledge and information, but just make it a lifestyle of enjoying movement rather than hammering into something that doesn't feel good.
Nice. I think that's something that happens so much in the industry, I suppose, the idea of no pain and no gain, and that is something that we try and teach an awful lot, and our whole philosophy is really teaching, versus just telling you what to do, and teaching that it's not about pain or gain. It's not a sustainable lifestyle if we're always going in this go hard or go home mindset. And you do see that so much with people with injuries. They get a small little injury that really isn't that debilitating, but it's just something that they feel. They keep pushing into that. It becomes a lot worse. And then they just fall away from exercise altogether. And then it's 2 or 3 years and they're like, oh yeah, I never really got back into it after that. And then you've completely lost your routine. And now you're a completely different person. And it can happen fast, we all get little pains here and there, and it's completely normal. But exactly as Joanna says, just working towards what you can do, what's pleasurable, and just making sure it just stays part of your lifestyle is so important, because as I always talk about, there's no 6 weeks to whatever you see on the billboard. It doesn't exist. It's fake. It's not real. It doesn't last, even if it is. Even if you do get there after 6 weeks, after 6 days of stopping, it's gone again. So just making sure that we always understand that this is just part of who you are. It's just a lifestyle. And that's why we try and teach so much, because we don't want you to be attached to us. I mean, if you choose to be here, that's fantastic, but we don't want you to feel like you're stuck to us, because the same thing, just like an injury might stop you from working out, a gym might close down, or you might lose your trainer, this, that, and the other, and then that's it. You just stop working out. It's kind of what I was talking about earlier about if we get to that point where we can just feel how our bodies want to move and just move them naturally, we're getting to the pinnacle of what it's like to be in your body, versus someone who looks really good and they're really good in the gym, but then it closes down and it's all gone to waste. Cool. Lalita said, what if it hurts just a little bit? What do you think about that, Joanna? What's your scale?
I'm assuming you're talking about the sprained ankle. So that's kind of a rehab question. Is that correct, Lolita? Or just like general aches and pains?
You already answered it. I'm good.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Sorry, I just saw that now, Lily.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing, like also related to what Owen was saying, to not fear or avoid something because it hurts. That I think Owen kind of alluded to it. That the body is kind of always in flux. Like imagine like if you fly overseas, like how shitty your body feels after like a 12-hour flight, and all you have to do is like get up and walk around and do some like mobilizations, and how much better you feel so quickly. So even if something doesn't feel good right away, like don't be afraid to just keep moving your body and see if it changes. And then it's really awareness and mindfulness in motion that things do change, and that you can update yourself. So you also don't, on the other side, don't get stuck in the this is injured, I'm going to avoid it because it doesn't feel good, if that makes sense. And then I have to sign off now. It's good to see all your faces.
See you soon, hopefully.
See you soon. Yeah. Bye.
Bye. There is a scale that I do like, though, when it comes to discomfort and pain. There's a guy called Scott Sonnen who I would, he'd be up there in one of the guys that I follow the most. And he always just uses a 3 or 4 out of 10. So, my 10 is completely different to Julia's 10 and to Zach's 10, and everybody's 10 is going to be different. So everybody's 3 and 4 is going to be different. So, it can be quite subjective. If it goes above that 3 or 4 pain and discomfort level, stop. I forget where I was the other day, and I was reading something, and it said, if it hurts a little, slow down. If it hurts a lot, stop. It really, all of this stuff doesn't have to be that complicated. Slowing down is one of the main things. You always hear me in classes telling me people to slow down, because it's very hard to feel what's going on if there is speed. Speed masks dysfunction an awful lot. Any more questions from you guys before I go back to some of what we got from emails? Okay, cool. So, boom, boom, boom.
Owen, are we allowed to talk, or do you want us to type?
Talking is cool. Yeah.
I have a question. While we're still inside, not going out too much. I miss we all used to walk, those of us who, well, we were all in the city, if we're not now,
Yeah.
right? We were at your gym. So we don't walk as much. Is there anything short of, sorry, my email for work is open.
No problem.
Short of, like, what do you suggest to replace that walking? Because going out to the park and walking around there's still lots of people without masks, and it can be a big production to go in and out of your building. So if you can't walk as much as you used to, is there anything indoors, if you don't have a treadmill, to sort of replace that walking?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. It all depends how. Yeah, it all depends how much you're trying to recreate. It's going to be very hard to replace our constant activity. So in New York, we are all very lucky that we just rack up, close to 5 or 6 miles a day without even thinking about it. And that's a nice natural amount of daily walking. It is going to be pretty hard to replace that indoors. If you want to treat, for me, the only way to do that is to kind of really treat it as a workout. You can probably replace an awful lot by just walking the stairs in your building, walking up and down. Boring, that's the problem, is it's just going to be a little bit more boring. But what I've been lucky that I'm in the middle of nowhere, so I can walk. But you just put in a podcast and listen to that and go about your day. Now, if you want to try and replace how you just naturally got movement in there, it all depends about how deep you want to go into that lifestyle. You could say to yourself, right, every time I have to go from my bedroom to the living room to the kitchen or whatever, I'm going to crawl. I'm going to do a duck walk. You can make it more challenging for yourself. You can set little goals like, oh, I can't have my head above 3 feet, and I can get anywhere around the house today, but I just can't have my head above 3 feet. Or little things like that, where you were going to use a lot more energy. You're going to have to be more mindful about what you're doing. Zach, who's a dancer, put one in there. Dancing. It's a great one. That didn't pop to my head. I'm not fluid, but absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
couldn't be better.
Zach, thanks. I didn't want to out myself because I'm not a dancer, but I did use my new wireless headphones and just dance around my apartment for an hour a couple of times. No curtains. I don't care about the neighbors, but sometimes it's hard. So that's a good point. I should revisit that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the absolute beauty of it. Like, getting into a movement like that's really free. That's maybe even better than walking. It's the freedom of movement that we're really looking for, right? And that's one of those things that brings us back to longevity, is loose movement, free movement. Tony, I know, is big into dancing. He's always posting his discos on Instagram and whatnot. He's actually saying, come to a Zoom party tonight, get down party, blah, blah, blah. I would definitely feel more comfortable with no one watching with my silent headphones on. But I think that's also a beautiful time. Like that's also why I've been doing a lot of that intuitive movement, is to try and give people that comfort to do that. No one's watching. We're not in a gym where there's 20 other people looking at us and feeling self-conscious or anything like that. So there is literally no one watching us. So yeah, there's no such thing as bad movement, And I'm sure, Zach, from your point of view, there's probably no such thing as bad dancing anyway. We look at dancers and we say, oh man, that's beautiful movement, but that's just because they're dancing for so long. If I was to look at like someone playing soccer or kicking a ball who'd never kicked a ball before, it was like, oh, look at that person having fun, rather than being like, oh, that person doesn't know what the hell they're doing. Not at all. But that person might feel self-conscious around a whole bunch of professional soccer players, but probably not, because he understands that all those people are professional soccer players. Whereas I don't think we look at good dancers and we don't have that same kind of, we don't give ourselves a break. We're like, oh, I'm not good, so I'm just going to clamber up. But Zach, maybe you want to talk about that a little bit more, being a dancer.
Yeah, I mean, I just typed it in, but I think it fits in exactly with what you've been saying all along. But like, I almost hesitate to say dancing sometimes because that can be like off-putting and triggering to think like, oh, I can't dance. But it's really just about moving your body, like listening to know how your body wants to move. So even if that means closing your eyes or whatever, just checking in and starting with a small movement with your body, and then just let it kind of flow through your body. And use it as like a meditation, as a listening. Just turn on some music that you can't help but move to. Yeah, that's how I get myself up and moving.
Awesome, awesome. And guys, if you don't know Zach, he was a member in the gym, and then he's gone off to do massage therapy course. He will be back in July, hopefully come September, October, or whenever, who knows, he will be able to give his services, but he's also going to be part of the team as a trainer as well. So I'm super excited about that. Cool. So next up, actually the next question was exactly that. It was advice for keeping active during these times. What is something that is improved in your practice or development? Loads of things, really. I would say the number one thing that has improved has been just the ability to put aside the ego and to not be chasing a certain aesthetic, a certain number. Well, it's not entirely true. I do chase numbers in the sense that I want to get stronger. I want to have, I always want to be continuously improving my movements. You know, there's gymnastics moves that I want to get and all of this kind of stuff, but I don't care when I get them. I don't say, right, well, I did that progression last week, so I'm doing the next progression this week. And that's probably taken the longest for me to be able to learn that lesson, that like you just go with the flow, and when you're ready for the next step. And if I can take the ego out of it, then I'm not going to hurt myself by trying to do 5 more pounds this week when I'm just not ready for it. And that really does take a long time to appreciate that and love that. Especially with the gymnastics moves, you can kind of feel like, oh, well, I want to do this, so let me just do this move. But you can fail at that move forever. But going back and working at the regression that's actually appropriate for you, my ego mightn't like what progression or regression it is, but it's the one that's actually going to build me up to get into that move. And I would say that, you know, working with Ilya with the gymnastic stuff has probably been huge for that, because you see a move, and when a gymnast does it, it just looks easy. And the only reason it looks easy is because they've made all of the progressions up until that point look easy, and they haven't gone on to the next progression until it is easy. And that's something that I try and teach to you guys a lot as well. It doesn't matter where on that line of progression or regression you are, the goal is still the same. You're just trying to make what you're doing now seamless. And once that's seamless, then you move on to the next, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next, rather than just trying to get to the next because the person beside me is doing it. You know, you can't judge yourself off another person. You can be motivated or by that person, but you still have to follow the same steps to get there. You know, and that it really doesn't matter what level you're at. You know, whether you're just starting, you've never worked out in your life, or you're 10 years in, you can't skip steps. And I would say that's probably the thing that's developed the most for me in the last 5 years. And it's always been a kind of development, really. Like I've always been a, you know, soccer player, Gaelic football player, and then I think I had my little weight set up in the attic when I was probably 12, that I started really getting serious with that. And 12 to 18, I was doing all of that work thinking I knew everything there was. And then I started, you know, playing on professional teams, so started getting introduced to strength and conditioning coaches, started working with them. So then 18 to 22, thinking I knew everything there was to know just because I worked with those guys. Then 22, I get injured, and that's when I kind of realized that, like, I don't have a clue what I'm doing. And then when you take that away, when you're able to like really strip away all that ego, that's when you can start learning and building. And that is something that I want all of you guys to kind of understand and appreciate, that it's not about that no pain, no gain kind of thing. There's no longevity in it. The longevity lies in progressions, making it seamless, next progression, make it seamless, and love how long it takes. You know, one progression might take 2 weeks and the next progression might take 4 months or 4 years, but just fall in love with just the process. Cool. Oh, this is a good one. What do you look for in a client? I suppose the quick answer is anyone who wanted to hire me originally. That was the do they have a job? That was the first one. But then as I started getting busy, I definitely was able to see the kind of client that I really liked working with. When I first started, I was convinced that I just wanted to work with athletes. I had in my mind that I would come over to the States, get some good experience, and then come back and try and get in with like a Premier League team or something like that. And I was super lucky. I did get working with athletes almost straight away. I met some really great coaches, and I got, within my first year, I was working with Colombia. Second year, I was strength and conditioning coach for professional soccer teams. And pretty soon into it, I realized that I actually didn't want to work with them. They didn't really care. They, rightfully so, they cared about their sport. And they wanted to put their body on the line at any cost for that. And I knew that that wasn't my style. I knew that that wasn't what I really wanted to be working with. Now, I have retained some clients who do want long careers, who are older, and they're like, yes, I want this to last forever. And I think that's how a lot of my athlete clients ended up being dancers, because they intuitively know the importance of being in tune with their body. And dancers don't have the same immediate shelf life that someone like a soccer player has. A dancer might realize come their late 30s that, oh shit, I mightn't be able to do this forever. But they also might be able to realize that if they take care of themselves, they can do this forever. Whereas soccer player doesn't really have that. So with that, it kind of brought me into any single person who wants to get in their body and make it about longevity, who wants to follow a process, who isn't looking for fast results, who isn't concerned too much about the aesthetics. Anyone who is about this being a lifestyle and about it being a journey. And the more I've worked with clients, I kind of know now that I actually don't want to work with clients for as long. I like working with them periodically. And on the private side of things, you know, I don't need to be seeing someone 4 times a week. I'd like to work with someone and teach them so that they know what to do, and then they can go and do what they need to do for the rest of the week. And then maybe I check in on them once a week or once every 2 weeks or once a month even sometimes. I don't necessarily think, I kind of mentioned it before, but I don't like the idea of having a client who just shows up, who isn't really in tune in what they're doing. They're just going through the motions and almost offsetting their guilt. They feel like sometimes, oh, I'm not doing enough, let me get a trainer. And by just getting a trainer, they feel like they're doing the work. You can come to the gym 4 times a week, even have personal sessions 4 times a week or whatever it is. And if you haven't actually bought into it, if you haven't committed mentally to it, it's a waste of time and it's an energy sap for me. So luckily I've got to the place now in the last couple of years where I've been able to kind of put my foot down, because you can kind of see people like that coming in straight off the door. They're like, there you go, there's my problems, you fix it. And that's just an energy sap that nothing can do. Like I can't, you can bring a horse to the water, but you can't force him to drink it, right? So all you can do is show your experience, give some of the information that's helped you along your journey, and maybe it'll help them along their journey, but you can't force anyone to change their mindset and be in it. And you can kind of see those people right off the bat. So yeah, perfect client is absolutely anybody, whatever age, who sees a benefit and is going to live the things we talk about. So I guess the ultimate perfect client, I've really enjoyed working with older people, because they're someone that you can see when they take on board an element of movement. You can see it in their face when they feel something that they haven't felt for decades, or they feel like they've just discovered something that might keep them walking another 5 or 10 years or something like that. Like that's, for me, I get an awful lot of joy from that, and you see it a lot. Like one time I had a client coming in saying, I just had a shower unassisted for the first time this decade. And I was, that's, for me, that's amazing. You know, that's unbelievable. I'd take that any day over working with an Olympic athlete, because reality is an Olympic athlete already has genetics that are up here. So as a strength and conditioning coach, you might take them from there to there, maybe. Whereas giving someone the freedom to have a shower by themselves, for me, is massive. Like that's a huge jump. So yeah, as Lolita says, someone who matches your core values and who you really are committed to. Yeah, exactly. Commitment. There it is. Simple 1-word answer. Sorry for going off on a tangent. Cool. So Brian emailed in and he said about COVID, what would you need to be comfortable going back to the gym? Well, first off, I would relate to whatever the CDC and our governor is saying, really, first and foremost. And then after that, it's really what you guys are going to be comfortable with as well. It's obviously the most important thing is the safety of the members. So I don't think anyone really knows what this post-lockdown world is going to look like. and I'm not going to be in a mental rush to push and say, okay, no more lockdown, all right, everyone back, and try and get everyone back. It's really going to be about what everybody else is comfortable with. I certainly don't want Hanuman to be a place that could lead to wider contamination or infection spread, and I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable in the space. I think generally we've always kind of practiced social distancing. I've always been against the big sweat boxes. I've never seen Hanuman as a place where we just pack as many people into as possible. So I kind of feel confident in a way that after this, or as we start going into whatever this new normal is going to look like, the old Hanuman might be somewhat similar, just based on how we were really strict about keeping numbers small before. As for the physical metrics, for me to feel comfortable, it's really going to come down to what they say about the phases and what happens within phase 1 and all of that. So I'm not going to try and push anything before what guidance we're being given by the people who know a lot more than I do. And then he also said, what does a post-COVID Hanuman look like? I personally don't think there's going to be a post-COVID. I don't think there's going to be a post-COVID for a long time. So what does a Hanuman with COVID look like? Our plan is to be in phases as well. We think that first and foremost, we're going to keep the online stuff, whatever the word is, indefinitely. So we're going to keep the online stuff indefinitely and add in-person stuff as options. First, the in-person options will be in the park. I would imagine any group stuff we do will be in the park. The personal side of things, I think we might be able to bring that into personal services. So I might start doing personal sessions. I think Hanuman will be equipped for that. We've also spaced out the gym so that it's possible to keep social distancing measures when we're in the gym. Even for open gym, kind of go back to the same thing. With open gym, we always had a rule: 3 people at any one time can book into open gym, and it'll be the same thing. You can book into open gym, just like as you've done, and 3 people in the gym gives everyone about 700 square feet of space individually. We've got lots of windows, we'll have the fans going. So from that side of things, from a personal session and from booking in, I'm hoping that we might be able to, again, it's all going to depend on, what the government says and what the guidelines are, but we might be able to open up with personal services, and we might be able to have open gym as part of those services. Can't guarantee anything. It's all going to be a case of what we're told we can do. And then finally, I think way down the line, or probably phase 3 or 4, we'll start having group classes inside again. But again, we're going to be implementing social distancing methods with those. So we haven't the final numbers down, but it might be slightly under 10. I'm still waiting on my sister, who's an architect, to draw up new plans and to see exactly where everyone needs to be to make sure that we have 6 feet of space in every direction. And what's going to happen is we're going to get rid of any place where people can congregate. So we'll be taking away the coat racks and things like that. And when you book your class, before class, the trainer is going to text you your number. When you come in, you just go directly to your number. Everything will be at your space for that class. So obviously the good thing about us is that we know all of our clients, we know what we lift. You know, we know Rachel is lifting 25 for this and Amanda's lifting X for that and blah, 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 blah. So trainer sees who's there, sets up the station, texts Tony, you're at station 2. Yoda, you're at station 4, whatever it is, and you just go directly to your station. And while it might be a little bit weird, I think we're in a good place there that we don't really have to go through too many communal areas or have to congregate that much. And then after that, it's really a case of playing it by ear. Obviously, we'll be doing all of the usual recommended things, disinfecting every day. Each person at their station will be getting their own spray bottle and disinfectant wipes, masks for everybody. And I think that's about it. We'll be sending out a full rundown, full booklet of all of our precautions and measures and changes that we've made to the studio before we do open up. And throughout all of this, we will be keeping online, and maybe even into the near future. I'm saying we'll probably end up setting up space even while you're in class. You can still have the Zoom set up, have a projector on that big back wall so I can see everyone who's online, and I can give feedback just as well as to the person who's there in the class at that time. So I think it might, you know, it's just going to be a different reality, but I think it's going to work quite well. Are you planning to do temperature checks? It's in the plan, all right. To be honest, if I can, I was looking for the infrared cameras or the temperature check cameras. They're incredibly expensive. So it's a case of what we can afford is realistically going to be a part of the measures that we can take. You know, the handhelds thermometers that are contactless are a lot cheaper, but again, that puts people closer. Who's going to have to take that? Is it going to be staff? Are we going to ask staff to get close to people? You know, we also have to think about the trainers' safety in that as well. There is going to be a huge element of ownership on the members. That is, you know, one thing that I know for sure as well, is that because this is such a club-like place, it's not your average commercial gym where no one knows each other. There is an ownership on you guys, or I will be putting an ownership on you guys, just as much of an ownership as that I'm putting on me. So obviously if there's any symptoms and you're coming, you know, it's just something we have to plan for, but it's something that I wouldn't expect from any of our members. If it is possible, I do want to put in one of the temperature checks though, however. Also, if any of you guys know of any other methods of doing this, happy to listen to as well. Open to all sorts of situations really, and suggestions. Tony, is that sunburnt or blush? I pinch, Tony. I don't use blush, I pinch. You know, I'm a lady. It is sunburn. The weather here is phenomenal. It's unbelievable. Typical May Irish weather. It's absolutely perfect. It's like 80 degrees, no humidity, no clouds in the sky. The last couple of years, Ireland has never had good weather ever in my life, but the last, I'd say 3 or 4 years, this time every year has just been phenomenal. So Yeah, it's sunburn. And I think that's basically it. Anything else? Probably global warming, to be honest, realistically. Yeah, any other questions from you guys? Anything, any concerns? Tony?
I mean, at some point, I want to just talk to you about starting up next month, my plan for working out.
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't have to be in here, but I just want to like go over with you like what I've been doing and like how we can streamline it. Because I know what you were saying about doing 2 strength classes a day. That's not very useful, but I like the busyness of my schedule. I like the routine. So whatever I need to change a little bit to continue having sort of like a packed morning, like I've been doing,
Yep.
I like to do. I made a file. I made a spreadsheet that has all the workouts that I've been doing. You know, like what kind of they are, like a movement one, yoga, if it's strength. And I'm gonna send that to you, and I want you to take a look and say what I should keep and what I should get rid of for change.
Perfect. Perfect. And I will use that because I think it helps other people. You know, everybody's not like you. You have energy to burn. You know, people are just made of different energies. You know, I'm personally, I get an awful lot of energy from recovery. That's where I build my energy. Someone like you get your energy by doing. Yeah, and there's obviously loads of, like, you're at one end of the scale. A dog who sleeps all day is at the other end of the scale, right? But everybody falls in between that, so you got to find the one for you. I know you need to do extra workouts, or you need to stay active and all of that. It's all about just making sure that you're managing the stress on your nervous system, and that goes to everybody. How does your nervous system react to what you're doing, and are you giving it appropriate time? So it boils back down to mindfulness again. Your body will tell you if you're not resting enough. You will start to feel unmotivated. You will start to hate what you're doing. You won't like it. You'll feel aches and pains. And these are the things that it's just telling you to not push through. It's okay to give yourself the license to rest. You mightn't be at that level, Tony. I think you're actually not doing a bad job of, you know, it's not all strength, all conditioning all the time. I think you're doing a nice bit of recovery in there as well.
There's only 1 or 2 days where I do like double strength, and actually it's only Saturday because I was doing Tuesday. It took me a little while to realize that the Tuesday strength class are all the same class. You know, the one of them is no equipment and one of them is equipment. So it's basically the same class. So that's the only day that I really got to change things up.
Right. And there's different ways. I mean, you could do different body parts. So say it was Tuesday, whatever, you did 2 days a week of 2 strength trainings. You could do different. You could do upper, lower, upper, like lower in the morning, upper in the evening. Right. You just switch it like that. But one of the things that I always say to people who are very active to the point of like almost needing the activity to feel okay is, you know, just be mindful of how our preference is to do what we like to do, and we always shy away from what we don't like to do, you know, and that's gonna be where your limit, where your health and fitness is lacking, where you can probably get more benefit. If you like to do strength training all the time and you've been doing it for a couple of years, you know, you're probably towards the ceiling of getting, you know, very fast progress. You know, after that, it's going to be really small incremental progress. Whereas if you hate to sit or to go on slow walks or to do anything recovery based or mindfulness based, that's probably where you're going to be able to see the most of your growth. Okay. And by building up there, you'll probably be able to build back up on the strength side of things as well. It's what's that word that like everybody loves these days, or phrase, cognitive dissonance or whatever. We'll always, or confirmation bias, we'll always go into that. We'll always do what we want to do. So just when you program, you can say, right, well, I'm clearly going towards one thing a lot more than the other. And yeah, feel free to send it over to me and I'll have a look. And yeah, cool. Awesome. Anything else? All cool. All right, great. Wait, thanks. Good info. Take care. See you later, Ronan.
How are your pops and mom?
All right, guys. I will see you all during the week, and I'll be back in New York on the 8th of June.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So.
Thank you.
What's that? 8 days, 9 days. All righty, guys.
Thanks, Owen.
Have a good one.
Take care.
Take it easy. See you
Bye.
soon. Laters. Peace.